welcome to the Lift Big Eat Big show. We're on episode. Hang on, I gotta mute little Mia over there. But we're on episode 22. We've passed the 20 mark again. We're in the top 1% of all podcasts past 20 episodes. But we have myself, James DeLacy, professional strength and conditioning coach. We have Colin Wolf, 2 times world's strongest man competitor. And we have Mona DeLacy up top. Well, at least on my screen up top. Who is a Commonwealth medalist in Olympic weightlifting, African champion, CrossFit Games athlete, 6 times karate world champion. There's like a whole host of other things that would take me another 10 minutes to list off there in terms of achievements. So we're going to cover today something slightly different. Most of our episodes are centered around getting big, gaining mass, building muscle, all those things. But today we're going to flip it on its head. We're going to talk about losing weight, shedding body fat, getting ripped, getting diced, all that stuff. Not to bodybuilding on stage levels, but just generally losing body fat so you don't walk around like a fat lard, basically. So we're going to take this, I guess, in 3 different directions. We'll start with training, and we're going to talk about various mistakes that people make, that we've made along these lines. And we're going to talk about nutrition and diet, same thing, mistakes we've made and what you should do. And then we will talk supplements at the end too. But I know I don't know if Mia there is calm, Mona, enough for you to jump in. I know you've done a few different phases of losing body fat. I guess for competition you have to cut weight as well. So do you want to maybe dive into training wise? Did your training change at all? I mean, for you it's a bit different because it's not physique related. But did your training change at all when you were going through phases of trying to lose weight for competition?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's actually where a lot of mistakes came into play because I'm in a strength sport. So the thing is, like, you need to take into consideration, and this is what I know now, that if you try and cut weight, your training has to change as well. Otherwise, it will suffer. Like if I am in a high volume phase and I try and cut weight, I am going to lose strength as well. And this is something that I often got wrong before competitions because I never had professional help. I would do it myself. You just like, okay, I need to lose 3 kilograms. So you're like, okay, I'm just going to, cut my calories, eat half of what I normally eat.
I'm just going to eat tuna and lettuce.
Yes,
that's what you
yes,
did.
Exactly that. And I mean, my training suffered. Often I would get sick. My immune system would suffer. And then at the end of the day, I kept my training intensity really high. And that's where I noticed that, I would just lose a whole bunch of strength. And with that, also, I had like a mental drop as well because my confidence would drop because I'd be like, oh my gosh, like my legs are getting smaller, like I'm starting to feel weaker. And I would actually go and compete feeling weak, looking weak, like because I would be like, okay, this is not how I would look in training. So it definitely affected me, like my mental side as well. But yeah, it's something that I wish I changed back then. But again, being a teenager, like there's not a lot of help out there. And I think that there should be, because even as a female, when you cut weight and you just drop your calories, there's more that comes into play than just your strength dropping. I mean, I've been one of those females who actually, I lost my menstrual cycle for 2 years, almost 3 years, because of cutting weight like that. And because of continuing to train extremely hard, training 3 times a day. And those are unfortunately the side effects that if you just go and cut weight and things are not done properly.
Yeah, there's definitely more issues, especially around strength sports where you're trying to cut weight for a category outside of just, I guess, physique related ones. But Colma, I guess as a strongman, you're not really cutting weight going into a competition. Oh my gosh, that dog. You're not really cutting weight going into a competition. So I guess the times that you've lost weight is more to, I guess, potentially get into competition shape or just to bring your body weight down. Do you maybe dive into your training around that? Did it change much going into these phases? Any mistakes you've made in the past doing it?
Yeah, so I've got a big history with losing weight, I suppose, and I've definitely made a ton of mistakes. But with, like, in general, with strongmen, right, there are a lot of people who compete in weight classes, so they might be on a reduced calorie, they'll be on a calorie deficit going into a competition, Obviously, it's not ideal, but depending on what their weight is. Ideally, you want to take that as slow as you can. In general, as well, I would scale back a little bit in terms of volume and just really try to focus in on the things you absolutely have to do. And like that's in general what I would recommend for someone who's, trying to drop a little bit of weight for their weight class. If you're trying to drop too much weight, you're better off, in my opinion, just not competing at what you're comfortable at, and then maybe look at something down the road. But for myself, strongman wise, when I've been competing, normally I would do a little bit of a recomp phase post competition. So let's say for myself as a super heavyweight, I'd often be trying to maintain, if not gain a little bit of weight going in. So let's say I walked around at like maybe 164 kgs. At the comp, I might end up 167, something like that. So just a small gain, but that calorie surplus going in helps a lot. And then post competition, because I'm in a period where I wouldn't be going super heavy anyway, my training would look very different. So I'd be doing a lot more volume, but on a lot more volume post competition than pre competition, because very high intensity, lower volume. Post competition though, there would be non competition style lifts. So for example, let's say I had been peaking up for a deadlift. Post competition, I might be doing like a stiff leg deadlift or some kind of variation. Normally a little bit higher reps, less weight. That's how I would do things for the goal of strongman. But years ago, back again, another story from back at uni, when I was trying to lose, I don't know if you remember, there was a stage I went from about 145. I ended up at 105. This was over about, I ended up at 105 kg. Like I was like 140, 104.8 at the AUT gym scales. I must have been that weight for maybe 6 hours, and then I just went and ate a bunch of food. But I made a lot of mistakes on that cut, and that was over a period of probably like 10 months. It was a long time, but so these are the major, kind of like what happened with Mona as well. There was a stage, right? So I'm 6'5", started at 145 kgs. There was a stage where I was eating 1,200 calories a day, and I felt like absolute shit. Like I felt really terrible, but I felt like that was like I wasn't. I didn't really know that much about it back then. I just thought I was kind of the same. I wasn't eating salad and tuna, but I was eating chicken and green beans, so pretty similar.
The same thing, to substitute a couple of foods.
So so my bench press when I started that was 170, and at the end it was 145. So I did lose the 145 though. I did once I had regained to about 115, but I did it very fast. So basically, if you're after some basic mistakes to avoid, don't try to do like a big drastic calorie deficit. Your strength will just disappear big time with it. Like I'm sure I lost a ton of muscle mass. My squat went absolutely like horrible. And yeah, on top of that, I was also doing a bunch of cardio every day. So those are some, common mistakes to avoid. The other thing, another like common thing I got, and this was around the time of the, like, if it fits your macros craze. And I was one of those people who took it too far. So what I mean is, instead of say eating 500, let's say you've got 500 calorie meal, right? 120 grams of oats and a scoop of protein. Fantastic. Got a decent amount of fiber, good quality carb. Instead, what I would do is have, say, 400 calories worth of light whipped cream and like a scoop of protein. So it was, although it's the same amount of calories, like there's no fiber in light whipped cream. It tasted delicious, but I would be hungry as like 10 minutes after eating this. But it's something I still see people make the same mistake when like talking about macronutrients. And I'm not sure if you guys ever did anything like that, but it's
light whipped cream and protein together. That was your meal?
It actually tastes pretty good. It's quite a nice like low calorie dessert, but you shouldn't have all your meals consisting of this, because you'll be like really hungry. And yeah,
Yeah.
what that behavior led to, I would do this, and then I would have like I started off having a cheat day, but I was obviously eating too much, so I started changing it to a cheat meal. But it would just end up in me like binging on food. So I would have like ridiculous amounts of food on this day that I had designated as my cheat day. I would go like, absolutely crazy. I remember at one stage, I don't know if you remember, there was a company called Mammoth that did this peanut butter ice cream here in New Zealand. I remember I went and got like a
No.
2 liter tub of that, and I ate the whole thing on my cheat day, and it made me sick as. But those behaviors of going too extreme, like making myself so hungry, there's always a give and take, right? So although I was in a massive calorie deficit from this, it then came back the other way, and I was just so horrendously hungry. I'd end up binging on so much food. Whereas down the line, like once I
Yeah.
actually, learned how to do it, it's a lot more manageable if you've got a moderate calorie deficit and you just you do it slowly over time. Strength wise, you'll maintain a lot more strength and mass as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's those are some funny mistakes
Yeah,
too. I think Mona has. Do you have something to jump in there?
Yeah, because I'm muted, so I can't just like jump in. But it was
Uh,
funny that Carl mentioned, like the things that you did that you really regret doing. And I mean, I've told James this, we were talking about this the one day. Like, I don't know if you ever did intermittent
I
fasting.
tried it. Yeah,
And yeah, and I went and I did, back then it was called like the renegade diet or something.
the warrior diet, I
And
think.
the what?
The warrior diet.
No, this was called the renegade diet. Like
Ah, okay.
it was what is his name? He
Jason
passed away.
Ferrig,
Yeah,
Jason
yeah,
Ferrig.
yeah. It was
I
his
can't say his last name.
diet, and we like bought his book and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be committed. I'm going to do this, and I did lose quite a bit of weight doing this, and I actually in the beginning didn't lose like any strength at all. But basically, what it is like you fast for 16 hours and then you eat for 8 hours. But the thing is, like, I didn't really take into consideration like being a coach, waking up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the mornings, and then having like my some of my, because I would train twice a day, so some of my heavier training sessions like in the afternoon, and then after that I would coach. So I would end up like finishing coaching around like sometimes even 8 p.m. So that means that if I train in the mornings, like I won't really eat anything until say like midday. And if I start eating midday, then by 8 p.m. I have to be done. So I'm trying to like stuff everything in, or all my calories. And I was saying to James that like, doing CrossFit and demoing movements, like demoing like pull-ups, toes to bar, sit-ups, those kind of things. Like I could barely demo it because like I would try and stuff myself so much, like so full of food that like I was just so swollen and so full that like I couldn't do anything because and also I was just so hungry. Like James actually says like he can't imagine me eating that much in like 8 hours. But like back then, I don't know why, but I could not stop eating. Like I could just continuously eat. Um, but then obviously I'm not that person who will like eat while I coach because I'm a CrossFit coach, so you have to be active and you're on the floor and stuff like that. So like as soon as there's like a 10-minute break or whatever, like between classes, you like run and quickly like, eat as much as you can kind of thing. And I just remember like filling my plate up till like, yeah, till the extreme. Yeah, and at the end, like I ended up losing a lot of weight. Like I got pretty lean and like, defined, as you could say. But yeah, I quickly realized like something like that was not sustainable at all. I feel like if you have a really busy lifestyle, if you're an athlete, I would not recommend that. And the thing is, again, like being a female and stuff like that, when you do all these like crazy fad diets and things like that, it starts like messing with your hormones and stuff like that. And obviously, I'm not a doctor to be able to tell you exactly what it does, but I just know how it's affected me and how it's affected my hormones and how it was a really bad outcome for me. Yeah, and something that I've like learned over the years is like carbs is your friend. And I feel like a lot of females go through this problem is they think by eating carbs will make you fat. Like for me, a lot of fat actually made me fat. And I went like to the extremes of like going on like the paleo diet and those kind of things. And without counting calories, I would have tons of protein, which was good. So I was building muscle, but I was just eating fats on fats on fats. I can't even tell you probably what my calories was back then, but it was like an extreme amount to like, I would eat it and I would just be like instantly tired and I would go like in an instant like food coma type of thing. And it was only when I changed my diet and I went high carb that my body also like immediately started transforming. I started, not just having a lot more energy. I started looking a lot more defined, like my muscles were popping. I was feeling energized. And that's when I realized, like, unfortunately, like sometimes you realize these things like a lot later on in your life, but I guess it's better to make those mistakes and then and then you can teach others. That carbs is super important, especially if you're an athlete and especially if you do a strength sport. And when I started, then afterwards, James helped me to learn how to count, my calories and my macros and stuff, and balancing out, my carbs, fats, and proteins. And that's also when I became my strongest in weightlifting. And that's something that was super important. I mean, I don't recommend every single person counting their calories and doing macros, but if you can, it will be a big eye opener. I feel like, especially for females, realizing that and this is for females that train, realizing how little protein they have in their diet. I feel like that is one of the biggest thing. A lot of females have a ton of fats, very little protein, because they'll eat a bunch of salads throughout the day and they'll drench it in salad dressing or whatever, and it's just like a whole bunch of fats, and they think, okay, I'm just eating, leaves and barely anything, and that's how they end up like not losing the weight and having almost like that skinny fat look, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in there. Well, we'll come back down that diet road too as well, because it's gonna be a big topic. I'll just round out the training portion of this, because you guys just both went down the huge diet rabbit hole there. But I'll quickly jump into the training. But I think one of the two big mistakes people make when they start a so-called fat loss, I guess, phase, is one, they completely overhaul their weight training. So their trainers get big and strong. That's the kind of training they do. They suddenly go, okay, I'm going to lose weight now. So they change it. They start lifting higher reps, less weight, etc. But the way you build muscle is also the way you retain muscle. So your training should be pretty well identical, especially in the beginning, to when you're trying to gain weight versus when you're trying to lose weight or body fat. That'll signal to the body to keep that muscle mass so you don't become what Mona called it, that skinny fat look. And then obviously as you get further into that diet, then you're going to have to pull back some of the volume, but you're still going to be doing very similar training. And it just also helps that if you're maybe someone looking for a fat loss training program or whatever it is, there's no such thing. Muscle building programs, fat loss programs, it's all the same training. Everything else comes down to the diet. So just be aware of that in terms of marketing and things like that. And then the second thing is, my advice is, this is purely for physique only, is to not start doing cardio at the beginning. So if you've just been lifting and maybe you already do, I don't know, maybe you do some fun activity outside, that's your cardio, or you like to do maybe 30 minutes a couple of times a week already, okay, cool, just continue doing that. But if you don't do any and you just lift, don't start throwing in a bunch in the beginning. Think of it as like a layer. So you start your dietary stuff, and you drop like that moderate calorie deficit, 200-300 calories. You start to see the weight drop. Cool. You just keep doing as you're doing. And then once you see a plateau, that means you're going to have to drop your calories even further. You're starting to feel a little more hungry. Then you can start using easy cardio to move the needle further. And that means, like, for example, 10 minutes walking on an incline treadmill. I mean, this is the stuff I did. I went from the 94 kilo class in weightlifting down to the 77. And these are, why are you shaking your head there, Mona? Shaking your head. Hey, why are you shaking your head? You're not on mute anymore. Why are you shaking your head about my 77 kilo?
I feel like
The audience doesn't know. The audience doesn't know.
I just can't imagine being skinny like that.
You did though, because I did it again for a jiu-jitsu competition.
But
Five
you were
well,
skinny ripped. I
shots
feel
fired
like
off.
you went skinny ripped.
Well, it's because I had a naturally skinny frame. Not anymore though. Just getting jacked now. So the biggest thing is during that fat loss phase with training stayed the same, but the cardio I only added when I needed to push the needle when I had a plateau. And by cardio, I didn't mean doing hard sprint sessions, whatever else. I literally walked on an incline treadmill. I think it was 3 miles per hour, and it was at like a one. Uh, I don't know. It was like a very small incline, and I literally walked for 10 to 20 minutes once or twice a week, maybe depending, and then that would just shift the body weight, just doing stuff like that. Um, so that's something that you kind of use it as a weapon to facilitate further weight loss. So you don't have to keep taking stuff out of your diet instead of using it as the tool to lose weight. And instead use the weight training to retain muscle mass and then your dietary intake to facilitate that. And then when we go into the dietary stuff, I mean, Mona and Com shared a bunch of stuff around diets about eating chicken and green beans and all sorts of shit like that. That cracks me up. But yeah, the biggest thing, very small, moderate calorie deficit. Yeah, as Mona said, tracking your calories. If you do that, it's such a good skill to have because you'll get a general idea once you do it long enough of kind of what a meal composition looks like when you eyeball it. It's just a good skill to have, even when you're not counting anything. But yeah, and obviously there's a billion different diets. Mona talks about high carb there. I'm a big advocate, especially if you are training hard. High carbohydrate diet is the number one thing you should be doing. There's just no way around it if you're doing high intensity activity, lifting weights hard, doing strength sports. Maybe you're doing, even if you're an endurance athlete, you're doing team sports, whatever it is, you need a high carbohydrate diet to facilitate that training and to facilitate performance there. So just fuck with that keto shit off for once, and all the other bullshit diets that come out. High carbohydrate, your high protein, and then your lowish fat, and that will give you the energy to perform even when you're starting to lose weight. And I know, Moni, you touched on intermittent fasting as well. Yeah, obviously, intermittent fasting versus normal eating, there's no difference in fat lost when you equate calories, protein, etc., etc. I found this one application where I think intermittent fasting works well. Was when I was training in the evening, when I was on that bigger cut to that lower weight class. If I ate in the morning, like my normal breakfast time, I would be hungry at night after spacing all the meals out. So I would delay my first meal until like 10, 11 a.m. just so it means I wasn't going to be hungry at night going to bed during the time. So that's one application where you can use it. There's no magic fat loss bullet from it when you're doing that kind of diet. So just be aware of that. And be aware that the only reason intermittent fasting seems to work for most people is because you're literally shortening the eating window. So you can't eat as well. Mona could eat as much in the 8-hour window, but most people can't eat as much during a short eating window. So that's kind of like the mechanism behind that. Same thing with keto. Keto doesn't work because you're removing carbs. Keto works because you're removing a whole damn macronutrient. So your calorie intake is much lower than what it would normally be. You can still get fat eating keto, especially if you're eating a shit ton of dietary fat in there. And you just have to play around with what you like. You don't have to do a high carb diet. You can do a moderate carb, moderate fat with your high protein and things like that, and just kind of see how you feel. But is there anything to add to that, Colm, in terms of diet when we're talking fat loss phases?
Not really. So I thought I was wondering if you guys also had any little like for so at the moment, right? I'm trying to drop weight, and how I was mentioning the light whipped cream with the protein. I don't know what is going on in New Zealand, but you can no longer get this light whipped cream. I haven't seen it for like the last 3 years. But these kind of foods I actually find are quite handy as a little, provided the majority of your diet. So right now I'm on a calorie deficit. The majority of my diet is made up of, good whole foods with good macronutrient profiles, decent fiber, micronutrients, whatnot. So mainly like, some brown rice, lots of veggies, and then some lean proteins in there. It's okay to then have something sweet. The things I like to do I do have fruit in that as well. But if I had the light whipped cream, man, I would have that. But otherwise, like the sugar-free drinks and that, having like
Yeah.
one of those drinks a day is not going to, it's not going to cause you all these health issues. Like again, Instagram will claim that it will do. It's not going to destroy your whole diet.
Yeah.
It's not going to make you gain. It's not going to be. I don't know if you've seen. They'll say. Seen things say like it's the sugar-free version is worse than consuming all the sugar and
Yeah, but these people are fucking
yeah,
retarded, man. Like, there's so many fucking idiots spouting shit. But as Com's saying, zero sugar drinks, zero sugar foods, zero calorie stuff. Man, that shit is awesome if you're dieting down and you have these cravings. And like, I know Mona loves her sugar-free Sprite right now. So like, if if you're having these cravings and you're dieting down and you're like, man, like you feel like whatever it is, you have one of those, it just kills it and you're good. And yeah, that's a perfect thing. I think Mona has something to say there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the cool thing is, like, and you kind of introduced me to these kind of things, and at the moment, obviously, like, I'm trying to like gain more weight because of obviously nursing and stuff. Like, I've been burning a whole bunch of calories, but like when I'm not, like, James has all these like sugar free or whatever free low calorie syrups and things, and I would just honestly and I would just like put it all over my oats and put it all over like my waffles and things. And I mean, it makes such a big difference. I used to like use that like because I love almond butter, but then as a dessert I would take like a rice cake, put almond butter and then that syrup on it, and it made my almond butter last longer because I put less almond butter on it, and it was honestly, it was super amazing. And what you were mentioning as well with like the calorie free like soda drinks and things like that, like you said, there was always this like really big stigma around, or there's kind of still in like the fitness world and on social media and things like that, a lot of controversies between like, is it bad, is it good, all these kind of things. But again, I feel like everything in moderation is fine. So again, if you are going to have 20 of those things a day, then maybe yes. But if you have like a couple of those a day, and it's going to help you if you do need to cut some weight, or you are competing and you just need something to like fill your stomach a little bit, or just sustain you for a bit longer, and something that will like fit into your macros or your calories, then by all means, like do those kind of things, because it can just help. I think it's just people like, there's always like, don't do this, whatever. And I know even like back in the day, like Tim Noakes came out with, I can't remember what diet, like he was basically saying like
the Banting diet.
Yeah, the Banting diet, like high fat. And I don't know if that came afterwards or whatever, but he was always research is saying high carb, and then he changed, and then he was like high fat. So like, I mean, this is a doctor, this is someone who puts out legitimate research out there and stuff like that, and people follow it. So it just also shows you that like things do change over the years. People, they evolve, new research comes out and things like that. So you also don't have to overcomplicate things, because I think a lot of times, honestly, if you're just a person that like you want to cut a bit of weight and you're counting your calories and things like that, I don't believe that you have to go into the extreme science of things, because you're not going to go and step on show as like an elite level bodybuilder. And even in that is your goal, to be like an elite level bodybuilder and get like ripped and super shredded or whatever, then you'll have a coach and you'll have someone that will do those things for you. You don't need to go and go and do those things by yourself. So I just think, you don't have to go down the rabbit hole of saying, I don't know if there's like disclaimers or things like that. Like people are saying like, certain things causes cancer, like stevia, or not stevias, but like, just certain.
You're gonna get us booted from YouTube.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Get out of here, Mona. I'm gonna have to mute you.
And then say, like, Like I even heard like back in the day they were like too much coffee will do that.
Yeah, it's
So
just that everything comes around over and over again,
yeah, I'm
repeatedly
almost
through
just
the
like trying
decades.
to count my words and not to say. I'm like, what am I allowed to say and what am I not allowed to say? But yeah, there's been so many claims and stuff out there that's just like ridiculous. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but the amount that a person normally takes, it won't cause that much damage.
Yeah. And Mona was talking about different, like, I guess, like, and Colm, 1 or 2 of these zero soda drinks is fine. I mean, another thing you can do is carbonation can help fill you. So even if you're having like flavored soda water or things like that can help. And then obviously another tip when you're dieting, especially if you're feeling hungry, is swapping out lower fiber, lower dense foods for higher density foods that are higher in fiber. And these things will keep you fuller longer. So as Cole mentioned, the whipped cream and protein powder, yeah, it'll hit your macros, but you're hungry, 10 minutes later. I didn't do that, but I did the same thing. I never did it again during my cuts. And I think I must have been a takeaway burger or something. I don't know if it was McDonald's. It can't have been McDonald's. Surely not. I don't think I'd stoop that low, but some kind of fast food burger or something. And I worked it into my macros. And then I was starving for the rest of the day. And I was like, this is so shit. I hate this. And I never did it again because I was so hungry after doing that. And that was like half of my calories in that one meal.
That's what
So
I would do with my entire day back then. This was at like
your entire
yeah,
day?
like this was at that peak of where if you went on the internet, it was just if it fits your macros, it's the exact same.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
so now I have potatoes, but then back then I would have that whipped cream in one of them. I would have some kind of like oats and casein. But yeah, I based my diet around those options. So I would say kind of like how you said use cardio as a weapon. I would think of using these sweet, calorie-free or lower calorie things as a weapon to supplement your like relatively good micronutrient dense
Yeah.
base of the diet. Do not use those as the base like I did. Because yeah, not only will you be hungry as, but also like my stomach, it gave me lots of stomach issues because there's so much like sugar alcohols in those things, and if you're taking like the amount of them that I was having each day, it's just you'll crash and burn. It's not worth it. Learn from my mistake.
Yeah.
That was the getting shredded for R&B phase. That's what that was.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! For all the Kiwis listening, I'm sure you'll relate and understand. But once you make that mistake, sometimes I think you just have to kind of make the mistake yourself and then realize, oh shit, that sucks. And then you kind of may not do it again. But as Con mentioned, use them. Like for example, you might do 2 days, quote unquote, perfect on your diet. The third day, you might implement some of these things and replacing a meal with more if it fits your macros kind of stuff. Maybe it's like macro friendly donuts and whatever the hell else in a protein shake. Maybe just because that helps you stay on track, you still hit your normal food intake, your calorie intake, and you're good. So that's just some things you can do there. And when I talk about replacing lower density and fiber foods with higher stuff, so for example, instead of having cereal, you would have potatoes. Instead of having rice, maybe. I mean, I still have rice during that phase, but maybe instead of having rice, you have oats. There's obviously beans and legumes that are very high fiber and dense that keep you full. So you kind of make those substitutes maybe as you get further into your diet to keep you full. Those things can help. They're high fiber and they sit in your gut longer versus things like white rice, white bread, white pasta that might pass through you quicker and therefore make you hungrier quicker. So those are just things that you can be aware of. You don't have to do it. There's no like magical benefit between having white this and white that versus brown this and brown that. Yes, generally we can say the brown versions are quote unquote healthier because they're higher in fiber. But you can do it just off the white versions too. You just might be a little hungrier. So you just kind of got to weigh it up there with what you want to do within your diet. So yeah, that's those diets. Oh, I know as well, Mona. When we first met, I think it was the diet you were going to be put on from a coach who will not be named, but it was crazy, man. I was out with Mona one day, and I was like, holy shit! Like, I don't want to I don't want to step in between like you and your coach, but holy shit, you're gonna literally crash and burn. She was training double days. She's gonna jump in there. Hang on. Yep.
That was not my weightlifting coach. Just
No.
so people, because people knew my weightlifting coach for 8 years, and he's always been someone who's been for carbs and stuff like that. So he was really good with like making sure. But this was a different coach that wanted to help with my nutrition, and that said, basically he knew the answers that I need in order to gain strength and make sure I stay in my weight class, because I was really battling at the time to like stay in the 63s. Like Dutch would always say, I'm a heavy 63, but I'm a light 69, because my body weight would always range around like 66, and we would like get my weight to close to like 64, and that last kilo always just like got me. And like James was saying, like I think it was like just broccoli.
It was literally only protein. There was no carbs and no fats.
Protein,
And it was like it was like 1,000 calories. So Mona was training twice a day. She was doing like stupid volume too. Like she was strong as fuck leading into that Commonwealth game. So it was like she was doing like 10x3 front squats in like the morning, and then,
on
like,
90%,
on 90%. But then she was doing it in like the afternoon too, and like crazy double day shit. And then this diet she was going to go on was going to be like 1,000 calories of only protein, and I was like, what the fuck.
And then when James was like, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, and I won't recommend like doing this, because if you do have a nutrition coach, like be honest with them. But I kind of didn't want to like hurt this person's feelings. But then like I continued training, and then I said to James, okay, help me with my nutrition, and I kind of did it secretly. And I still remember one day I was like eating sweet potatoes and stuff like that, and he was like, why are you eating sweet potatoes? That's not part of your diet. And I was like, I just needed like a change. And like, that I couldn't believe it. Like, and again, this was me blindly following someone that I thought was a professional in the field. And stuff like that can like wreck everything. It can wreck your hard work. It could lead to injuries.
That would have destroyed your Commonwealth run for sure.
Yes, exactly. So instead of it being like, it ended up being the best Commonwealth Games that I've ever had. It probably could have been another disastrous one if I didn't change things. Because I went into the Commonwealth, my weight dropped. I still like the night before, like I think I just started cutting like a little bit of calories like right before, and we did it like very subtly. And
we did a water cut from Eric Helmscomb. We used his water cut, the one he did for me, because when I was a participant in his study, and then he took me through my own water cut, and then we modified it with him for Mona as well. And it's fucking legit. It's legit, man. It's such a nice water cut.
It was so good. Like I kept a lot of my calories so I could continue training hard. And then I performed my best as well. Like I've never gone into a competition having that much energy, being in my weight class. Even that morning, being able to like snack and stuff like that. It made me feel confident going into competition. I didn't feel depleted at all, where before I would feel super depleted. Like I said, I would just feel super flat. I would feel low energy and stuff. And I didn't. And this was the nice part. I was seeing the weight drop. And I just had to trust the process. And I think that's one of the important things as well. Like if you have someone helping you, you have to trust the process. But again, you kind of then hope that this person knows what they're doing.
Yeah, that too. And I mean, it's a little outside this. Oh, sorry. That's a little outside the scope of, I guess, losing body fat and losing body weight just for general looks purposes. We're starting to talk more weight cutting for sport, which is completely different topic, completely different set of expertise. We're not going to say we are not experts in that area at all. So do not take any of our advice in that area for weight cutting for sports. But typically the process there is different because you're looking at more lower residue foods. You're losing weight through other means in those instances versus calories. For example, food that's in your stomach, etc., etc. But that's besides the point. But I think we covered everything under diet. If not, we can also cover it during our supplement section too. But people love to go to supplements. I mean, it's a huge industry. Fat loss supplements, fat loss pills, fat burners. You now see energy drinks, thermogenic energy drinks, thermogenic pre-workouts. Holy shit, man. It's just like people are just, these companies are just absolutely just killing that space. But let me just preface this section with there is no such thing as a fat burning supplement. There's no such thing as a supplement that will significantly reduce or cut your body fat. There is no such thing as a supplement that will speed up your metabolism. All these things are kind of made up to really get you to buy shit. I actually know the guy who created. I don't know him personally. I know of him. A copywriter who came up with all those terms. He has the biggest selling fat loss. Was it? I think it was for a supplement company. So he created the video sales letter, and he came up with all these terms that are still used today about boosting your metabolism and incinerating body fat, etc. Those are all his things from his video sales letter that sold billions of dollars. Now everyone uses it, so that's why everyone says boost your metabolism, etc. Even though it's just bullshit. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So none of the supplements are going to help, but there are supplements that will help you in your journey of losing body weight that are not directly going to burn body fat, but will help you in the process of dieting down. So obviously the simple one is protein powder, because protein powder you can use as a meal replacement or a quick meal or to hit your protein targets. That's pretty much it. You can make recipes out of protein powder too, which is quite nice. But as Colm said, if you're relying on protein powders over normal food, you're going to be damn hungry. If you're drinking protein shakes instead of eating your meat, you're going to be hungry all day. So just be aware of that if you're going down that road. And obviously you've got your other normal ones like creatine to help with performance. Outside of that, there's not too much else. We could lump casein protein in there. It's interesting. Casein protein keeps you damn full. It's so thick compared to whey protein. So casein protein is often a good thing. You can have it at night before bed as like your nighttime dessert kind of thing. I know people mix it with Greek yogurt and all sorts of shit. I'm sure Cole's probably mixed it with whipped cream.
Definitely,
yeah. There we go.
I've mixed it with
Does it
pretty
thicken
much
it?
everything. Yeah, it makes it with whipped cream. It's really good for sure. Um, I used to also do casein, like a scoop of protein. I think it was like 15 grams of crunchy peanut butter, a little bit of water, and I would mix it so it goes kind of like a thickish sort of texture. Then I would microwave it,
Mm.
and it creates this like weird consistency. It's not for everyone. Like my wife's tried it and she thought it was disgusting, but I actually really liked that. I have heard things like that. The microwave like ruins the protein, but I don't. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it does. But what flavor casein?
I used to do that with the vanilla. I've tried it with chocolate as well, but I quite liked the Optimum Nutrition vanilla casein. It was the only one we could get back in the day here. But in
Yeah.
general, though, like I do think casein is a good for those periods of dieting. Like James said, it fills you up really well. But otherwise, I would just go with the cheaper option.
Yeah. Yeah, even mass gainers can be used during a fat loss. People go, what? Like a mass gainer used during a fat loss phase? That makes no sense. You know, it's all about calories. So depending on the mass gainer, you can half or quarter the serving. If you're in a rush, so you can't have a meal going somewhere, whatever, you need to eat. You know, just having like a 300 to 500 calorie shake that hits your macros well, like that can work too. So those are options. I still remember at NetFit or Strength HQ, we had, I think the guy who owned supplements.co.nz
Yeah,
train there. So he would sometimes every how many months he would come drop off like a box full of like protein powders and all sorts of stuff that were, I think, were expiring or expired from the store because you can't sell
yeah,
them. So he'd just come bring them to the gym. Oh man, I'd have a
yeah.
field day. I'd take all that shit home
Still good for
and I'd
sure.
be like, fuck yeah, I've so dude, that shit doesn't just
Yeah.
expire. That's bloody powdered and processed, you know? So I was like, hell yeah. So I'd have like so much like random mass gainer and protein at home for like weeks. I was like, yes. And I would just smash the shit out of all that. That was awesome. But I mean, outside of those, caffeine, obviously, most people drink caffeine anyway. So you're not really adding it in addition during a lot of these phases. I mean, if you actually look at all the fat burning supplements, they're all just caffeine based.
Rich Freak.
to give you energy.
Do you remember Rich Freak?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I heard people shitting their pants taking that stuff.
that's the one I used to take back then.
And did you shit your pants taking it?
It didn't make me do that, but it was like, I think it was like $100, right? And it must have had like maybe 300 milligrams of caffeine. It was really strong.
Holy shit.
Really strong. And then one day I swapped that out for, this was like a final 8-week period. I just swapped it with caffeine pills. So it's exactly the same. Caffeine pills were like $5 or something. But again, this was a long time ago when I didn't know what I was doing.
Yep, this was back in the uni days. Try anything. But yeah, I mean, they load it with caffeine and whatever other random herbal shit they decide to throw in there. That's probably the cheapest herbal stuff they can find, and then market it as a fat burner, you know. So just be aware, none of that will help. Those are it's the same supplements you're going to use when training and building muscle anyway, that you're going to use during your fat loss phase. You might just use less of it depending on where you are in your diet and things like that. So yeah, and then obviously get creative. If you're, as we mentioned with the protein powders, Colm's creative masterpiece of peanut butter microwaved with vanilla casein could be up your alley. If you go on YouTube, man, dude, every fitness influencer or cooking person now has a cookbook out with protein powder. It's crazy. That's how everyone's monetizing their YouTube channels. They're creating damn cookbooks. And I mean, you can search anything on YouTube. You just search protein powder recipes, dude. There's so many. So many. So if you're in the cooking mood and you want something sweet that's high protein, that's an option too. I know Mona loves her protein mixes and whatever else you make. If you got anything that you like to have?
Yeah, I used to make like fudge as well. So I would use like chocolate protein and like a little bit of coconut oil and then a little bit of like almond butter.
Oh yeah, is that the one you used to refrigerate or freeze?
Yes.
Holy shit, that was nice.
It was so amazing. And then I used to do ones where I would very similar to like Colm's concoctions and stuff like that. I would have like a little bit of like a lactose-free ice cream, and I would get like a low-calorie one. And then I would literally take that, melt it a little bit, like so, put it in the microwave, melt it, mix in my protein powder, mix in almond butter, and then refreeze it. And it would just create a whole new ice cream. But it was a high-protein ice cream, then with the almond butter, and that I made sure that fit into my macros and calories and stuff as well. And that was absolutely delicious. And I feel like when you freeze things, it just makes it obviously last a lot longer, and it's obviously harder to eat, but it tastes also really nice. So I feel like if you are on that stage of like maybe a cut or something like that, where you like want to eat something, you don't want to just like munch it in like 5 seconds, freezing it definitely does work. I do like Colm's idea also, and I know we used to make this back in New Zealand. We would microwave some of these like protein powder thingies and whatever. I think you can make like a, I don't know what it's called, like a microwave, like a chocolate cup or something like that, or a chocolate cake or something it used to be called. But yeah, you can put like some protein powder, some like almond flour, like an egg. You can do like that and put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds or a minute. And you can put some chocolate chips in it as well, and it just would make it really nice. I did do some really crazy things also back in the day. Like I ran out of protein powder the one day, and I made like a protein pancake with BCAAs.
Oh, wow.
And because I was craving sweet things so much, I had this blue, like super blue protein
blue raspberry,
and it was actually delicious. Yes. So I was like, oh, okay, like I'll just from now on mix it with my BCAAs. And I ended up doing that. So that used to be, it's crazy when you are desperate for a sweet thing and you're cutting weight, what you would have.
That's gross. I mean, the other gross thing Mona does is she microwaves her cereal. Who does that?
Bobby is laughing at me.
What kind of cereal?
Why not?
Like cornflakes or something.
Any cereal.
No, like any
she
cereal.
Microwaves it for 30 seconds so it goes soggy and warm.
Yeah. So cornflakes, like rice
Cheerios, Cocoa Dino Bites.
Yeah, it has to be microwaved for 30 seconds.
I don't think I've tried that.
Disgusting, eh?
I would still eat it though.
You don't want
It's
to.
so good. You have
You would
to
still
try
eat it?
on the next time we have a podcast. It's so good.
No, but you're basically accelerating the aging process of your cereal and milk. It's like you left it out for an hour.
That's a lie. It just makes it like juicy. It makes like the flavoring into the milk. And that's what's nice. Like, I don't like having a cereal and then it's crunchy and then the milk tastes like milk. Like, it has to be combined.
I don't know. I don't think microwaving it is the way to get there, though. That just makes it soggy. But I think did we cover everything? Anything else to add there, Colm, from your side?
Not really. I wanted to say for anyone. So I assume most people, anyone who's listening to this, is already like a little bit more dedicated than average. But if you've got like, there's a book by a guy called Dr. Yoni Friedhoff, which is, I think, a great book. If you just Google his name, you'll be able to find it. But if you've got like family members, or if you yourself are just more of a general population who's not really going to do put in, that extra effort, it's a great book that goes over a lot of different things that you can do just that fit a general person's lifestyle. I just thought I'd mention that if there is anyone listening.
What's that book called? Is it more like habit stuff,
Yeah,
or is
it's
it
more
stuff that we talked about?
no, it's more habit and lifestyle, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's always a big one as well. Actually, we should quickly touch. Oh yeah, go on.
I was just going to say it's very much more for general population. Not someone who's going to. They'll never think to weigh their food. They'll never think to go to the gym, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I think we should just quickly touch on as well, like eating out at different restaurants and things like that. Obviously, you can't just put your life on hold and not do these things. So it's just typically about making better choices when you're. I mean, in America here, bro, you got calorie counts on every single menu.
Yeah, that's mean.
So it's and you can like shit if you wanted to, you could just eat super clean and just have rice, broccoli, and fucking chicken if you wanted it at pretty much every restaurant. Not that we do that, but it's just an option for people who are hardcore. But typically, you just want to pick better choices, and I think most people know from common sense what is a better choice, like a burger and fries versus whatever the chicken potatoes or steak and potatoes and beans or whatever it is. It becomes more obvious there, and then obviously it's just portion size. And then if you know you're going to eat out later in the evening, cut back during the day. So maybe just have more protein during the day, cut back some of your carbohydrates and fats because you know you're going to get a lot of that in the evening, and make most of your day more protein based. And then when you get there at the evening, then you have room to move. And those are just really simple things you can do when you're looking to eat out. And it's just about manipulating your day. Same thing, going to a barbecue or whatever, there's going to be a lot of food. You eat less during the day, you can have a lot of protein there. You can eat a little less protein. I think Mona has something to jump in on this one too.
I was going to say, one thing over here is where there's the calorie counting has like been so amazing, especially like for me wanting to gain weight at the moment, or when you have to lose weight, like when you go to like
the highest calorie thing.
Yeah, I picked the highest calorie thing, but like when you go even to like a smoothie bar or something, you can see like, and it's eye-opening. Like you'll see a smoothie that's like 300 calories, and then you'll see a smoothie that's like 1,600 calories, for example. And it just shows you, like, sometimes you won't even know how high the calories are. But the thing is, as well, is like if you go to Mexican restaurants or if you go to like certain restaurants, they give you like starters for free. So like,
in Texas, you get bottomless chips.
Yeah, like bottomless chips
and salsa.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, it's like you could be like munching away on like 1,000 calories, like there and then, or even more, because like you'll be in conversation.
Oh my gosh.
You'll be like in conversation and you'll be talking to people and you won't really know how much you're eating because you just like kind of eat for like socialization thing. And then at the end of the day, if like people don't know that they like, yeah, but I didn't eat a lot. I had a small meal. But you
ate all the chips. Oh.
Yeah. Oh no. Bobby.
But no, for sure. I think we should hit Dos Salsas soon again, Leaf, and get some damn Mexican. You made me hungry for Mexican now. But But if I think that covers pretty much everything there. But make sure you check down on the description, everyone. We got the Lift Biggie Big Underground. We just had a few more people sign up recently, and we've got all the programs in there: weightlifting, strongman, all the strength and size programs are in there, so you can get jacked if you're looking to lose body fat. We have the private community as well. We're in there. We can help you with any questions you have. You just run our training programs. We can help you with everything else, and they're all under the same subscription price. So all inclusive there. You have it monthly. You have all the training. You have us to ask questions to around your training and diet. So take advantage of that. Check in the description. But other than that, we will see you next week around the same time. Remember, if you're listening to this recorded on, I guess, on YouTube or on podcast platforms, this goes live. We're pretty much live 4 p.m. Central Time every Wednesday. Sometimes that changes depending on schedules, but that's when we're usually live on YouTube. So you can join us then. You can ask us questions live on the podcast too. We have some people every now and then that pop in. So make sure you check that out, and we'll see you next week.